Naomi, thanks for joining us here today. For the listeners, we've got Naomi Rogers joining us to talk about the all-important topic of sleep. So just going through a very brief introduction of Naomi's background. She's got a Bachelor of Science with honours in physiology, a PhD in sleep and chronobiology. She's a professor of chronobiology and sleep. In excess of 27 years experience in chronobiology, sleep disturbance, fatigue management, and neurocognitive functioning. She has a long-standing interest in the neurocognitive and health consequences of circadian disruption and sleep disturbance, such as occurs in shift work. And your involvement and participation within academia and industry is far too great to list. It's quite extraordinary what you've achieved, but obviously speaks to your deep passion on the subject. But certainly had quite a lot of involvement and consultation with Queensland Coal Mining Site Safety and Health representatives, further to work with the Commissioner for Mining, Health and Safety Queensland. So really glad that you've joined us here today. I guess my view is, along with nutrition and exercise, sleep is one of the key pillars of health, and you would probably argue the most important pillar of health. But I also think that along with mental health, sleep is often not well understood and largely left to chance, and people don't spend an awful lot of time understanding it and sort of how to get better sleep. But yeah, I guess my view is sleep is a foundation for everything, and I think we all agree after a good night's sleep, life is just easier. So definitely keen to unpack some key questions around this today, Naomi. But I guess just to start, how much sleep is enough?
Okay, well, thanks, Sean. There's that old saying where you needed 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of sleep, and it turns out it was actually pretty correct. So we seem to need about 8 hours of sleep for most people. There's studies that were done where we looked at people's performance when they had different amounts of sleep, and when they had 8 hours sleep, they were performing fine. They're at their best, and they could keep their performance at high levels throughout the day. Once people started sleeping for less than that, their performance would get worse across the day, and it get worse day after day after day. And then the only thing that brought their performance back was having some recovery sleep and getting back up to around that 8 hours of sleep. And we also see some health effects when people are sleeping less than the 8 hours. So there's some big studies done looking at when people were sleeping, say around 6.5 hours each night, and it affected long-term health. And we also know there's short-term health problems, and a number of studies have shown how sleep goes hand in hand with our metabolic health, our weight and diabetes, and also with our heart, and also with mental health as well.
So some huge linkages there between good sleep habits and volumes of sleep and not. Just sort of picking up on some of the comments you made around, I guess, the downside of poor sleep or not enough sleep and the impact on our health. What can you sort of comment on further there?
So, I mean, often we know if we don't get enough sleep, we feel really sort of lethargic and slow, and overall our immune system tends to be lower. So, particularly in winter or when there's viruses and other things around, we're more likely to get sick. We're more likely to take longer to get over that sickness as well. So, we're more likely to pick up a cold or the flu. When we look at it long term, not having enough sleep regularly increases our chances for putting on weight and for obesity, developing type 2 diabetes, and also for different heart conditions. So things like heart attack, stroke, heart disease. And like I said, we also know that sleep and mental health go hand in hand. So often when people are depressed, they also have difficulty with their sleeping, and then that in turn adds to a lot of the mood disruption as well. So they sort of partner along with one another.
Absolutely. So some pretty profound and big impacts on our health as a derivative of our sleep habits. What about, I guess, those individuals? That's the downside, which I think may prompt people to look into this subject further. But I guess there's another group of people that are intrinsically motivated by getting better and performing at their peak. So I guess if
Yep.
we put that lens on, what is the upside of taking time to get quality sleep?
We all know, when we've had a good night's sleep, we wake up and we feel refreshed, we're ready to go, we're sort of embracing the day and what we've got to do. So when we get enough sleep, it helps our overall performance, so we can think better, we can make good decisions. Things like our reflexes are better, our concentration and our focus and our memory. We know that there's learning that happens during sleep, so particularly if people are studying or learning new things and they get a good night's sleep, that actually helps them then the next day with it. People just find that they can get through the whole day. They feel like exercising more, which then in turn helps them to sleep better. So to me, I think sleep, like you said, with nutrition and diet, all of it's part of a healthy lifestyle.
And I guess just a question off the back of that, in the day and age of wearables, what's your best recommendation about how you measure the quality of sleep? Because I think there's a stopwatch of falling asleep to wake up, but then some mornings you feel really re-energized. Other mornings you feel like you've been in bed for 8 hours, but you don't feel a bit groggy, or you don't feel that refreshed given the same amount of time in bed. So any tips around the best wearables or device to sort of nail that sleep quality and score?
For most of the wearables, they're good at telling you when you fall asleep and when you wake up, but they don't really tell you much about your sleep quality. The technology is still not sort of quite there. The best way we have to do that is in the lab and have a look. We put electrodes on people, we look at the different sleep stages. But I think with the wearables, people are then starting to pay attention to their sleep and they're thinking about it. One of the best things you can do for sleep is have a routine. So try and go to sleep at the same time every night. You tend to wake up at the same time in the morning. And then hopefully that gives you the right amount of sleep that you need. You're waking up out of the right stage of sleep. And then that helps you sort of get up and go and have that energy and that drive to be active during the day.
Fantastic. Okay.